You're listening to KFWB News Talk 980. My name is Les Brown. I'm Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. And we want to thank you so much for joining us. We come your way Monday through Friday from 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock, bringing you a program that is designed to motivate you to pursue your dreams, to get out of your head and get into your greatness. You have something special. You have greatness within you, and to prove it, you were chosen 1 out of 400 million sperm. God had something in mind when he chose you. And so every time you listen to this program, it will remind you of your greatness. We want to engage you in a conversation. We want to talk to you about a topic of certainties of modern life upended in Japan. All of us are seeing it and watching it on television. Last week, the people in Japan went about their daily routines of life. They got up, went to work, to school. They took their cars or subway. They went to dinner or to the movies. Then they went to sleep and waited for another day. But for many people in Japan, all of that has changed. The destruction from last week's quake and tsunami has taken the uncertainty out of people's lives. Near the disaster zone, nearly 500,000 people are in shelters and evacuation centers with shortages of food and water. The New York Times is reporting the life of people in Tokyo has been upended. Supermarkets that were once fully stocked now see many shelves empty. Once punctual subway trains are on sporadic schedules. Reliable electricity is no longer due to rolling blackouts. Even going outside is dangerous for the fear of radioactivity from damaged nuclear reactors that may drift into the city. People in Japan have seen their fair share of disasters, and they are taught from a young age to try their best, persevere, and suppress their own feelings for the sake of the group. Shinwa Tokiwa says who works for a major electronics giant, sells equipment to banks, and these same banks have been overloaded with people trying to send money to their relatives and friends in stricken areas. Tokiwa says, I've been checking the news on the internet and I really don't know who to believe because first they say it's okay and then things get worse. I can't go anywhere because I have to work my hardest for my customers. So here you have a taste of what's happening in one area of the planet and what they're dealing with and during a natural disaster. And we're all looking at that. And the same natural disaster that will at some point in time, everyone knows, will occur here in Los Angeles and Southern California. So now this type of widespread change to people's lives happens ever so often, but there are smaller personal ones that take place. A loved one passes away. You lose your job. A relationship falls apart. A medical exam discovers something you didn't expect. What I want to know is, what do you do when life pushes at you? What do you do when changes come about in your life instantly? What do you do? How do you handle it? I want to hear your story. I'd like for you to call. My name is Les Brown, Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. And one of the things that we encourage you to do is to share your story, your insight, how you're dealing with things when life just come out of nowhere. Helen Keller said life is short and unpredictable. Eat the dessert first. We know it's unpredictable. When you see the what just take place, it's so painful to watch the suffering that's taking place there. And you see people that lives have been torn apart and turned upside down. What do? A friend of mine's father just died unexpectedly young, 52 years old, in good health. Didn't smoke, didn't drink, in good shape, just dropped dead of a massive heart attack. What do you do when life catches you on the blind side? The number to call is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. Has it ever happened to you or someone you know? And how do you handle it? A friend of mine, her husband died, and he was the guy who controlled everything, all of the bills. He paid all the bills. He controlled all of the money. And she had to call around to every insurance company in the city to find out where he had insurance coverage. She didn't know. She didn't know where the important papers were. She was totally in the dark about the finances when that tragedy struck, when he died unexpectedly. She had not a clue because he controlled everything. What do? How do you handle it? Have you ever had that happen to you? When life just caught you out of nowhere, out of the blue, one phone call can change your life. You know that? One phone call can change your life in a moment, not overnight. I'm talking about in a moment. One phone call. How do you handle that? How do you pull yourself together, get your wits together? How do you deal with it when life catches you like that? I'd like to know that. I'd like to know your story on that, because you're going to inspire and encourage somebody today. You're going to help somebody know how they can deal with it. I know that there's sometimes in life it caught me on the blind side and I didn't do too well. It just seemed like my mind had shut down. It took some time for me to get some help and to be able to help myself. In fact, I needed some help. I believe very strongly, ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong, and ask for help and don't stop until you get it. I want to know your story around that. If you've ever been caught on the blind side by life, has life ever happened to you and you had to pick up the pieces and start all over again? A job that you thought you would be on for a long time, and out of nowhere you lost your job. A relationship that you said I do to, and you meant till death do us part, and it happened way before you thought it would ever happen. How do you handle that? A sickness, a diagnosis out of nowhere, and you are shocked out of your wits. The number to call is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. When we look at and talk about issues and things that we deal with on a regular basis, sometimes somebody else's experiences can give us some insight on how to deal with our own stuff. And I was talking to a friend of mine who told me about two men, brothers in Japan. One was a runner, is a runner, and when he heard about the disaster involving his family and couldn't get transportation there, he ran 20 miles in his suit and tie and shoes to get to his family because he couldn't communicate by phone. Another brother, he called, couldn't get through, and he made the same effort to get to the family. He said he had to take care of his business. The business was more important to him, but the other family member, that other brother, isn't it interesting how people raised in the same family by the same parents can end up so dramatically different? The other brother said, I had to know, I had to be there, I had to find my family, and he ran 20 miles in his shirt and tie and suit and shoes to get to his family in that disaster in Japan. A very inspiring story. The number to call right now, want to hear from you, 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. My name is Les Brown, and one of the things we believe very strongly, that as we begin to focus on the possibilities of life, it's just unbelievable of what we can accomplish and what we can do and how we can be a force for good and inspiration to each other. You're listening to KFWB News Talk 980.